Imagine standing on a rocky hill. The wind cuts through your coat. Your men are bleeding, frightened, and weary. An army 10 times your size is advancing toward you. You have no bullets left. Retreat is impossible. The fate of a nation rests on your shoulders. Most men would falter, but one man did not. This is the story of Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, a college professor, a teacher of philosophy, who stood where others would run and changed the course of American history.
Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain was born in 1828 in the quiet state of Maine. He was a man of intellect, integrity, and compassion. He studied languages and philosophy and became a professor at Bowdoin College, teaching young minds about freedom, duty, and morality. But in 1862, war tore through the United States. The North fought to preserve the Union and end slavery. The South fought to defend their way of life. Chamberlain watched the country he loved descend into chaos, and he realized that teaching about liberty was not enough. He had to fight for it. One morning, he walked out of his classroom and joined the 20th Maine Regiment. A professor turned soldier, a man of books, now a man of battle.
Chamberlain had never carried a rifle before. He trained tirelessly, learning how to march, how to command, how to fight. His calmness inspired his men. They respected him not for rank, but for courage. He treated them with dignity, cared for their wounds, and reminded them
word spread of his bravery. A professor had saved an army. President Abraham Lincoln later awarded him the Medal of Honor, the highest military decoration in the United States. Yet Chamberlain remained humble. He said, "We fought not for hate, but for love, for a country where every man could be free." After the war, Chamberlain returned home to Maine. He served 4 terms as governor. He worked to reunite a broken nation, always preaching compassion, unity, and forgiveness. In his final years, he often walked along the coast, watching the waves crash against the rocks, remembering the men who never came home. He would whisper to himself, "War teaches the value of peace."
Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain died in 1914, one of the last surviving heroes of the Civil War. But his story lives on. Because courage is not measured by strength alone. It's measured by the willingness to stand, even when the world tells you to fall. In great deeds, something abides. Bodies perish, but spirits remain. The power of noble acts passes on, and the light still shines. Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, the professor who saved America.
Part 2. The Legacy of Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain. The war was over. The guns were silent. But the wounds of America were still open. Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain had survived Gettysburg, but not without scars. He had seen death. He had faced hell. And somehow, he still believed in humanity. In April 1865, the Confederate Army finally surrendered. General Grant gave Chamberlain a special duty: to oversee the formal surrender ceremony. When that day came, thousands of defeated soldiers marched in silence. Their faces were filled with shame and exhaustion. Chamberlain looked at them and saw not enemies, but fellow Americans. He turned to his men and said, "Salute them, boys. They are our brothers again." In that one moment, the war truly ended, not by bullets, but by honor. Even the Confederate soldiers lowered their heads in respect. It was the day America began to heal.
Soon, the people of Maine elected him governor, not once, but 4 times in a row. Even in politics, he refused to hate, refused to divide. He believed that a true leader's duty is not to fight for power, but to fight for peace. He once said, "Courage is not only for battle, it is for living with truth, honor, and forgiveness." In his old age, Chamberlain often walked by the sea near his home. Sometimes he would stop and look toward the horizon, the same direction where he once heard the roar of cannons. He would smile quietly, as if he could still hear the voices of his men. "Hold your ground, boys. Hold your ground."
Intro Space, Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain passed away in 1914 at the age of 85. The wounds he received in the Civil War were still with him when he died. He was one of the last living heroes of the American Civil War. Even today, his statue stands tall on the hills of Gettysburg. The wind whispers through the grass, and if you listen closely, you can still hear his voice. Stand firm for what is right. Forgive where you can. And never lose your faith and courage. Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, the man who fought with honor and healed with heart. If you believe courage still matters, share his story.
Converted Intro. Space. Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain passed away in 1914 at the age of 85. The wounds he received in the Civil War were still with him when he died. He was one of the last living heroes of the American Civil War. Even today, His statue stands tall on the hills of Gettysburg. The wind whispers through the grass, and if you listen closely, you can still hear his voice. Stand firm for what is right, forgive where you can, and never lose your faith in courage. Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, the man who fought with honor and healed with heart. If you believe courage still matters, share his story.
To get more historical reality stories like this, subscribe to our channel and like, comment, and share with your friends.